The Zealaxians prided themselves on being the most advanced civilization in the known universe. Their crystalline bodies sparkled with internal bioluminescence as they floated through their pristine cities, suspended in the clouds of their homeworld. They had mastered quantum mechanics before most species had figured out basic arithmetic. Their technology was so advanced, they considered faster-than-light travel about as impressive as learning to tie shoelaces. But for all their superiority, there was one law even the mighty Zealaxians followed without question. Don't wake the humans. It wasn't that humans were particularly scary, not at first glance. They were rather unimpressive biological entities who had barely managed interstellar travel before entering their great hibernation. The stories said they had collectively chosen cryosleep during their Third World War, when their planet's resources were nearly depleted. Now, entire human colonies floated through space in massive ships, sleeping away the centuries, kept alive by automated systems. No one really knew why the rule existed. It had simply always been there, passed down, repeated, enforced. The galactic archives were filled with warnings, all saying the same thing. Let them sleep. Chief Science Officer Xylith brushed his crystalline appendages against the control panel of his research vessel, bringing up the holographic display of the latest human ship they'd discovered. It was ancient by their standards, practically an antique. But something about it made his crystals vibrate with unease. "Fascinating creatures," he murmured, his voice resonating through his shimmering form. "They look so peaceful when they sleep. Hard to believe they're the reason for our most sacred rule." If only he knew how right he was to be nervous. It was supposed to be a routine scan. That's what Xylith would later tell the emergency council, his body dimmed with shame. Just a simple hull analysis. Nothing invasive, nothing dangerous. But his junior researcher Zix had other ideas. Fresh out of the Galactic Academy, full of honors and more confidence than sense, Zix had been obsessed with human biology ever since they'd first encountered the ship. The cryogenic systems defied understanding. Efficiency levels no one could explain. "Just a small probe," Zix had insisted, vibrating with excitement. "We won't even touch the humans. Think of the implications." Xylith should have known better. The moment they activated the probe, everything changed. The human ship, silent for centuries, suddenly came alive. Alarms blared. Consoles flashed. "What did you do?" Xylith's voice fractured into sharp, discordant tones. "Nothing. The probe's quantum signature must have resonated with their cryogenic field." Zix's glow flickered with fear. On the main screen, pods began activating, one by one, like stars in a rising sky. Thousands of them. The ship's ancient systems, far from primitive, executed a flawless awakening sequence their scanners could barely track. "Emergency transmission to High Command," Xylith shouted. "Code ultraviolet. I repeat, human awakening in progress. Sector 7. The response was instant. Moments later, a fleet of Zealaxian warships encircled their vessel, their crystalline hulls forming a containment ring. The High Commander herself appeared on the screen, her deep purple glow pulsing with rage. "You absolute neutron stars for brains," she bellowed. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" Xylith tried to speak. Perhaps we could put them back." An alert cut him off. The human ship was powering up. Ancient engines roared to life. Systems that shouldn't even exist anymore came online, fast, efficient, and far beyond what they understood. Scans confirmed it. Brainwave activity, high levels. The humans were not just awake. They were angry. The High Commander's voice fell to a whisper. "Too late. They're awake. May the First Light have mercy on us all." In the chaotic aftermath, As emergency protocols were triggered and fleets repositioned, Zix turned to Zelith and muttered the understatement of the millennium. "I don't suppose this will look good on my performance review." Moments later, the human ship's communication systems crackled to life, broadcasting on all frequencies in a language long thought extinct. The message was brief, unmistakable, and soon infamous across the galaxy. "Who dares disturb our slumber?" The Zealaxian diplomatic corps had handled first contact with grace for millennia. They'd de-escalated wars, prevented genocides, and once convinced a hive mind not to convert the universe into paperclips. But nothing prepared them for grumpy humans awakened mid-nap. Ambassador Crystal, chosen specifically for her ability to reflect light in ways considered beautiful across 16 species, led the delegation. Her form gleamed with ceremonial polish. "Remember," she briefed her team, "we must be diplomatic, respectful, and above all, apologetic. We disturbed their rest. We begin with sorrow." The humans allowed them to dock. They really shouldn't have. The diplomatic team floated through the airlock, only to be greeted by a cluster of groggy humans in wrinkled sleepwear, clutching steaming mugs of something their sensors identified, alarmingly, as coffee. Substance: unknown. Effect: unpredictable. Classification: potential chemical weapon. At the center stood the human leader, eyes shadowed, hair defying several known laws of physics. Their tone was flat, unamused. "You're the ones who thought it would be fun to wake up several million people before their alarm went off." Ambassador Crystal began her prepared speech, voice glittering with practiced humility. "Most esteemed humans, on behalf of the Galactic Alliance—" "Save it, Sparkles," the human interrupted, sipping their drink. "Do you know how hard it was to get millions of people to agree on a synchronized nap schedule?" The diplomatic team flickered in alarm. This was not in the manuals. "We've prepared reparations," another delegate stammered. "Dream enhancement systems, comfort-based recalibration chambers." "Oh, that's rich." The human leader actually snorted, causing one diplomat to drop their glow frequency. "You think you can give us some fancy pillows and we'll go back to sleep? Ever tried falling asleep again after someone wakes you up?" The conversation unraveled fast. Humans had opinions, so many opinions, and they wanted to express every single one, preferably at top volume. Things truly fell apart when one of them discovered their favorite snack, something called pizza, had gone extinct during their slumber. The tantrum that followed shattered two assistants and caused one to temporarily lose coherent structure. "This is unprecedented," Ambassador Crystal whispered in a private transmission. "They're not attacking. They're just complaining. Endlessly." The humans began organizing a town hall meeting to air grievances. The very idea sent chills through the diplomatic corps. Millions of sleep-deprived humans gathering simultaneously to complain. "This is a cultural weapon," Crystal muttered, and then it got worse. The humans discovered their entertainment networks were gone. Someone mentioned Netflix and chill, with growing hostility. Another complained of social media withdrawal. The translators buckled under the weight of emotional nuance and slang. In a desperate attempt at peace, Ambassador Crystal offered them control over several resort planets. The human leader's reply would be remembered as the shortest and most terrifying diplomatic rejection in history. "Bold of you to assume we'll ever feel sleepy again." And then, now, about those extinct pizza recipes. It was at that moment the Galactic Alliance truly understood what they'd unleashed. An awakened human was bad enough. An awakened human with a grudge and no comfort food was a cosmic catastrophe. The real trouble began when the humans started checking their messages. Thousands of years' worth of quantum-encrypted transmissions had piled up during their slumber, and once opened, the mood shifted sharply. No longer just grumpy, now amused. "Let me get this straight," the human leader said, sipping their 15th cup of coffee, addressing the emergency assembly of the Galactic Alliance. "While we were asleep, you convinced yourselves we entered cryo because we ran out of resources?" The High Commander blinked. "According to our records." "Oh, that's precious," another human interrupted, nearly crying with laughter. "They really don't know." The truth was far worse than the Alliance had imagined. The humans hadn't gone into stasis because they were dying. They had gone to sleep because they were bored. "We'd solved everything," the human leader said with a shrug. "Clean energy, world peace, universal health care, faster than light travel. We even figured out why kids love Cinnamon Toast Crunch. There was nothing left to do." The silence in the chamber was deafening. The primitive-looking colony ships, camouflage, the simple cryopods, actually quantum consciousness storage systems. While they slept, humans had been running simulations on a universal scale, processing data that made supercomputers weep, and binge-watching every imaginable version of reality TV. "But the warnings?" Ambassador Crystal asked, her voice weak. "The law not to wake you?" "Oh, that?" A human scientist grinned. "We wrote that ourselves, spread it across the galaxy. Best prank we ever pulled." The revelation hit the Galactic Alliance like a gamma burst. The humans hadn't been endangered or vulnerable. They'd been cosmic teenagers taking a gap century, occasionally dropping anonymous tips to help other civilizations catch up. "Have you tried pointing the rocket the other way? Maybe don't mix those chemicals." They had achieved their advanced state of development long before most species had invented the wheel. Then, they just sat back, watched, and took a break. And now, they were awake, fully caffeinated, and incredibly nosy. The power shift was immediate. Xealaxians, once masters of the galaxy, now stood in awe as humans began reorganizing entire star systems. "You can't just move a solar system," High Commander Kristallos cried, aghast. "Why not?" the human leader asked, adjusting their robe and bunny slippers. "This one's blocking the view of that gorgeous nebula, and the commute time is insane. Who designed this layout?" Chaos followed. Beautiful, hilarious chaos. Humans introduced weekends to workaholic species, Wi-Fi that worked across dimensions, a galactic food delivery network capable of cross-planet takeout in under 30 minutes. They infiltrated Xealaxian bureaucracy, instituting casual Fridays and office parties. Crystalline beings tried wearing Hawaiian shirts. It was unforgettable. Even more surprising was the response from the younger generations. They embraced the madness. Hybrid social clubs sprang up. The first interspecies meme war began. "You have to admit," Zix said to Xylith, watching humans teach young Xealaxians how to chill, "they do make things more interesting." Xylith nodded. Somehow he'd survived the wake-up disaster. Promoted even. Chief Officer of keeping humans from getting bored. He wasn't sure if it was an honor or a punishment. The humans' approach to galactic governance was unlike anything anyone had seen. They built a massive space station and called it a universal community center. Different species could hang out, vibe, and sort out diplomatic issues over game nights and potlucks. "What about protocol?" Ambassador Crystal had protested. "Protocols are just suggestions with fancy hats," a human replied, before launching into a karaoke rendition of a song from their sleep playlist. Even the dreaded void crawlers, once feared across the stars, were disarmed by humans offering them hot chocolate and bubble wrap. "We weren't evil," the hive mind admitted. "We were just stressed out. Humans fixed galactic politics with snacks, naps, and group therapy. It worked better than any model of governance the galaxy had ever known. They introduced the Galactic Chill Zone Treaty, which included mandatory vacation days and the universal right to Netflix, and actually chill. Any species caught working too hard got a visit from the Department of Taking It Easy. The Zealaxian High Council was rebranded into the Cosmic Coffee Club. Major decisions were made over cappuccinos and cinnamon rolls. Humans insisted caffeine improved diplomacy. You know what your civilization's problem was? One human asked. Too much crystal, not enough flow. Gotta ride the gravitational waves, my dudes. And it worked. A coalition formed. Humans, Zealaxians, void crawlers, and countless others, all joining forces in the pursuit of perfect work-life balance. The universe thrived. Young Zealaxians became mood-lighting artists. Void crawlers led existential meditation sessions. Humans introduced hats to cultures that didn't even wear clothes. A debate about whether naked was more or less casual than dressed ended in compromise. Everyday Hat Day. The universal translator was reprogrammed entirely, just to handle idioms. The phrase raining cats and dogs caused a panic until someone clarified it was metaphorical, though the void crawlers still tried to make it literal, just to see what would happen. Human food innovation reshaped cuisine across galaxies. The quantum quesadilla swept the stars. The void vindaloo, less so. Xylith now led the Department of Keeping Things Interesting. Mostly he kept humans from throwing reality out of balance, or teaching children to weaponize sarcasm, or declaring the floor is lava in zero gravity. Despite the madness, or maybe because of it, everyone was happier. 1 year after the Great Awakening, the Galactic Alliance held its annual review. Recliners replaced council chairs. The only rule, no politics without pizza. High Commander Cristallo stood at the podium, glowing with soft amusement. We spent millennia enforcing a rule we didn't understand. Don't wake the humans. Turns out, they weren't even sleeping. They were just taking a break from babysitting the universe. The human leader raised their mug. In our defense, you mostly did okay. The void crawler delegate mumbled, adjusting their comfort scarf. We said we were sorry. But then, Xylith noticed something troubling. Yawning. Not one human, all of them. Is everything all right? He asked the human leader. Oh yeah, they replied, stifling another yawn. It's just, you know when you take a really long nap, then stay awake for a while, and then start getting tired again? Every crystalline form in the room dimmed with sudden dread. You don't mean... Yeah, the human said, stretching. We're thinking it's about time for another nap. You guys seem to have things under control now. Mostly. But you can't just go back to sleep. Watch us. They smiled, mischief sparkling in their eyes. Don't worry. We've left instructions this time. Real ones. Not just that prank about never waking us up. Then, with a wink. Although, we are keeping that rule, for old time's sake. And so, in the ultimate cosmic irony, the universe found itself preparing once again for human hibernation. Only now, as willing participants. As Xylith watched them board their ships, he couldn't help but chuckle. The one rule the galaxy had lived by for so long was about to be relevant again, just not for the reason they thought. At least this time, he mused, they taught us how to make coffee. And in the end, the galaxy's greatest truth turned out to be the simplest one of all. Sometimes, everyone just needs a good nap.